Hello everybody, I'm David Hetherington. I'm a charter holder. I actually started as a portfolio started actually as an analyst first, an equity analyst, moved into portfolio management, eventually a director of fixed income, spent 20 years on the practitioner side of the investment business, and I've been involved with CFA instruction even starting back in those days. I've been 20 years purely as an exam instructor, putting material together, coaching people for how to pass this exam. It's a fascinating exam process. Level 1 was factoids. Level 2 were long processes. Level 3, write, blank paper, choose what you're going to say, choose your words wisely, be succinct. Very, very different skills. So it's a lot of fun to help people get through this process. The Institute's very clear. The problem with the exam at level 3 for most candidates is the morning, which is when they do the constructed response, more informally called essay. People don't know what they're supposed to do. They have ideas from college. That's not what they're looking for. The Institute talks about things like specificity. They give you a question. They give you a set of case facts. They know what the body of knowledge is. In their mind, there's a very clear set of issues that should show up in your answer, and they grade whether they're there. So you're not creating information. You're not spinning possibilities. You're taking information, you're converting it to an answer, and if you know how to do it, the answer is pretty well defined. So we've actually just finished up one of our one-day question writing workshops where we take people and coach them on that. So what we do is we take old exam questions. That removes any possibility of saying, well, they wouldn't ask it that way. They would be clearer. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But what they always do is they gave you enough information that you could have solved this problem. It may not have been the information you expected. Sometimes they throw a curveball at you. But just remember, they always gave you whatever you needed. You read the question again, you look at the information, it leads you to an answer. So we've just basically spent almost 8 hours doing exactly that. Working through old questions, we start out with we coach you. We show you what you should have thought about. We read through the facts, we identify what's important. We talk about how you would use it. Then we let you practice writing the answer. We also use, here's the question, you read it, you answer it. Then we go through and we look at the answer. We look at what a good solution looks like. What were the critical things to include in the answer? How much do you really need to write? Good rule of thumb. A good answer, the kind of answer you would give on the exam, you could write it in about 40 to 50% of the allotted time. The rest of the time, read the information, think about what you're going to say, and then begin to write it down. So it's like level 2, there's a process here. If you know how to do it, it's not that bad. If you're not aware of how to do it, it really is very difficult to get where they want to go. I'll give you one simple example. One of the worst questions for many people is an individual investment policy statement question. It shouldn't be. You read the case. It's going to have given you information about what the client wants. Step 1, what if they ask you to do? Then they're usually going to ask you to make a calculation, something about what rate of return you need to earn. That's easy. Start with, how much money do they have to work with? That's called the investable base. Everything you need to know is there. We go back, they gave you these numbers, we put them together, they told you about some expenses, we take them out. Here's our base. Then, what did they say they want to accomplish? How much money will it take? Common question. What rate of return do we need to earn next year? Step 1. How much will they need next year to achieve their objectives? We divide that by the base. That's the amount we need to earn and distribute. However, they also usually say things like, we want to maintain the real value of our money. Let's say you have $1 million and you're going to need to spend $100,000. If we generated a 10% rate of return, everything would be fine, as long as inflation is 0. But what if inflation is 3%? If we earn and distribute 10%, the value of our portfolio stayed the same. We didn't keep up with inflation. Last step, add in the future rate of inflation. Now, I'm oversimplifying. The questions are more detailed, there's more specifics, but there's a structure you're working towards. What's my base? What do I need for my distribution? Do I also need to cover future inflation maintaining value? You begin to assemble those pieces. The questions are not as hard as you think. And here's the ironic thing. If you ask charter holders, they will usually say level 2 is the hardest test. Remember, these are charter holders. They passed all 3 exams. If you talk to level 3 candidates, they're often very frustrated. They find level 3 incredibly difficult. It's really not. Once you know how to solve the problems, they're actually rather simple. Most of them are not very complicated. They usually don't involve as many steps as you used at level 2 in some of your calculations. But you need some coaching, and that's really what we try to do in the workshop. How do we solve it? How do we coach you through writing a better answer? Because of course the goal is this is the last time you have to take a CFA exam.